Welcome back. Season 4, episode 15. We have the Rangeley Fly guide with us. The only one.
There's only one.
The only one, yeah.
He owns this. He runs the second most popular fly fishing podcast in the state of Maine.
That hasn't been recorded in how long?
It's been like a year, right?
I think I'm retired officially.
Are you?
Yeah, I think so.
You're just guest spotting now?
Yeah, I think I'll just jump on others. I'm past them. Passing the torch off to you guys as the only other fly fishing podcast in Maine.
Well, because Greg, I'm surprised Greg doesn't.
Greg still does this a little bit, but his are interesting. Not a lot of people like his. Sorry, Greg.
I liked it.
I like him sometimes.
I miss it.
I like the ones where he's talking about like different theories and how to fish.
I love the ones that he did with you, that you and him did about the fish series.
Oh, the fish series. Yeah. That was on mine though.
Yeah.
But either way, no, he's one season he did him. He's just trolling too much. He's just trolling other people. I was like, that's not cool, man.
We're pretty consistent on who we just absolutely eviscerate.
Yeah, pretty much.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, we keep it.
This week is the Hartford Police Department. They can go fuck themselves.
Oh man. Yeah, I want to hear that story. As can the New York State Troopers.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2.
Brutal. A couple felons here, apparently.
I didn't get any tickets.
Yeah.
The New York system is crazy though, because they give you a 3-page ticket, right? It's like a giant piece of paper. So they must have a sweet printer in their vehicle, but it doesn't tell you the fine. It just, you have to mail in guilty or not guilty, and then they'll mail you back if you're
Really?
how much your fine is. But apparently they also make you pay a DMV fee.
Oh, that's nice.
$200.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, they make it so you don't want to speed in New York. I kind of got to give it to them, right? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, hey, we're gonna make this such a pain for you that you're never gonna want to do this again. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we go back in a couple weeks, man. You're driving in New York, or I'm going 55.
He's not any better.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't get a ticket for him though.
Oh,
Yeah. I can get a ticket there. I can't get one in fucking Connecticut. If I get another ticket, though, I will say... So, we're driving through downtown Hartford. We're going from the Farmington to the Salmon. After leaving a fly shop, that I'll get into that later, but that was also an expensive stop. Go to fucking... Getting into Hartford... For some reason, we've done this trip now how many fucking times?
3 or 4.
Yeah, and I did at least 2 without you. So, like, that was the first time I've ever gone that way through Hartford.
Yeah.
We took 44 directly into the city. We're in the city trying to get up onto 84 to then get off onto 15 to go west, or to go east. And we're sitting at a stoplight, and there's like 4 ramps in front of us, and I'm like, where the fuck am I going? I have my phone in my hand, sitting front row at a stoplight. Drunk, high crackhead is stumbling from my left across the lane in front of me, and I watch our light go green. So now I've got to wait for this crackhead to cross in front of me. So I still have my phone in my hand. He goes by me. I start going. Didn't see there was an undercover cop car on the corner, tucked back, looking for people on their phones. I'm going almost through the next light, and then this cop walks out from the side, and there's like
a parking garage.
There's like a parking garage or like a loading dock for some fucking building, and he's like, kind of like had his hands up, but I thought he was like trying to back a tractor trailer out, and I was like, I was about to be like, I'm not waiting for this. And I had room on my left, and I was about to just fucking let her eat and just fly up, because 84 is right there. And then he made it much more apparent that it was me that he wanted, and just points me over, and then like he stops me in the middle of the lane next to me. So I'm stopping traffic now in 2 lanes.
Oh, that's great.
And he's like, license and registration. And I was like, right here? I was like, you don't want me to pull forward right there? Like, I can now see there's a line of motherfuckers that you guys are doing this to. Like, I'm not the only one. And he's like, nope, license and registration right here. And I was like, so this is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Great. So I just handed him the shit, and then he's like, okay, now you can pull over. I was like, sick. Great timing.
Yeah.
Nice job, buddy.
It's good to know that Hartford's finest are really getting after the real problems of the city.
Yeah. Not the drunk crackhead that's fucking stumbling across in front of fucking traffic.
Oh.
Yeah, and then when we left,
like-
he was like, "Take 3 rights out of here, and then I'll put you back on the road." And we made the 3rd right, and I was like, "Hey, there's a cop right there. That's probably who saw you on your phone."
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, it was a great.
And the drunk crackhead almost got hit too.
Yeah, by the car next to me
Yeah.
that couldn't see him.
Yeah.
So as I was waiting for him to cross, the car next to me started to go, and then that's when he just about stumbled into the fucking hood of that car.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome.
I mean, I work in public service and education, but I have debated several times why I didn't just go become a police officer, because like they can retire after like 25 years in Maine. So you could be like 50, retire, continue working and double dip.
Yeah.
Or just retire and go do something else, but you're collecting. As a teacher, I can't collect until I'm 65.
Correct.
Even if whenever I get out, I just can't collect until I'm 65. They can start collecting the minute they retire.
Yeah, pension life is not a bad life.
No, and if I knew I was just going to pull people over for texting on their phone all the time, great.
Well,
It's
up
not too
here,
bad.
yeah. I mean, we live in a very nice spot to have police officers. I wouldn't want to be a Hartford cop. That's for fucking sure.
What do you mean? They're just pulling people over on their phones, apparently.
Yeah, but
I'm
I
not
think
getting after
I
it.
think they got to do some other stuff, like homicides.
Yeah.
I can say
probably
have
a lot
to
of
show
those.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, outline it, do the chalk, all
Yeah.
that, right?
I mean they're not
This
solving
one's dead.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, that's why I don't really like to go south of Kittery.
I try.
I try my damnedest. I
I
go to
go-
Portsmouth like once a week.
Yep.
Maybe Exeter to see my mom.
I mean, I drove all the way to North Carolina and did not even see another police officer, basically, after New York.
So Arch,
And I will never do that drive again, by the way. I can't believe you go to Florida every single year.
it's
Do
not that bad.
I can't do it. Too bored.
Oh, once you get south of DC, it is the most boring drive
So
in the
boring.
world.
And Virginia is super long,
Yeah,
and it's 2 lanes, and there's trucks everywhere. So you can't. They're like next to each other too.
that's
Yeah.
how
You just
South.
can't ever pass.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy.
That's South Carolina too.
Yep.
See, my parents lived on the coast, and you're in Virginia for like 10
Oh, so
seconds.
you just took the coastal. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
talking the western route of Virginia.
Yeah. Virginia is a big motherfucking state when you take 95 through it.
We went to western North Carolina, and I will say that when we were driving down, I was talking to Katie, and I was like, I think that this could be cool, and maybe it's a little honey hole that we keep coming back to every year, every other year. Like, I don't know what we're getting into here, and driving back, we're like, you know what, that was pretty cool, but I don't think we're gonna do it again, just because it wasn't anything special to me. It was nice to get in some warm weather.
Yeah,
It was nice to be able to fish for like some trout that were active, but I mean, you guys know me. If I'm going somewhere, I'm fishing.
Yeah.
I don't think the fishing was awesome personally. It was a lot of public access, which was cool, but every like little pull off there was signs like it was hatchery reared fish and whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I caught some stock browns and
I
it was
want to.
okay.
I think
but
you
wasn't
get into
like,
like the Boone area, even like far like towards Tennessee more.
yeah, but
and-
then you get towards Tennessee and it's like big rivers.
Yeah.
And you can like float, but you got to be like with a guide. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't think it's
But there's also some high like
high
you get
mountain
into the
streams.
Smoky Mountains
Yeah,
and it's a
yeah.
lot like Western Maine.
Yeah,
and,
you're gonna
native
go catch
brookies
your
and
like
stuff.
6-inch, 8-inch
Yeah.
rookies and whatever. And
Which you can do that here.
that's cool, but I'm just not driving 16 hours
Yeah.
for that.
I like my parents lived on the coast of North Carolina, and that's a lot like here,
Yeah.
where it's very coastal. There's a lot of fishing influence, like as far as sport fishing, but also commercial fishing, and it was a pretty cool little town. But I wouldn't want to live there.
I can see the appeal to North Carolina because you have the coast and
Yeah.
the mountains.
but they're 12 hours apart. That's
So
the
far
trouble.
apart.
Yeah.
We also went to Asheville,
Yep.
and everyone's like, you gotta go to Asheville. You gotta go to Asheville. We went to Asheville, and I was like, this is not a
It's a
great
tourist
spot,
trap.
And it was what I heard about it though. It's basically like Portland. It's like
Yeah.
so much like Portland.
Yeah,
They had 50,000 people there in 2019. Today they have 100,000.
Yeah.
Imagine if Portland doubled what would happen to it. So there was poverty everywhere, homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just not nice,
Well,
we didn't feel like
what happened
Oh,
was
so great.
everyone got driven out of Nashville because Nashville got so popular and everyone wanted to be there.
yeah.
And then it got too expensive, so then everyone that can't afford that is going, all right, well, where do we go?
Go to another city.
Go to another
close
city
by.
close. Very similar vibe, very similar,
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't though. I've been to Nashville. Nashville's almost like commercialized now.
It is.
But then Asheville was just like, we were like bored. We're like,
Yeah.
what do we do here? I'm not just like walk up and down the streets and walk into these like little shops everywhere. And it's very artsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not into that stuff personally. If you are, that's to each their own. But I could not. If I never went to the Western Mountains, North Carolina again, I wouldn't be like disappointed. I'd rather spend more time out west. Like that's my goal, is to get out there more. Cause that to me is it's the motherland.
Well, I think like after doing like Colorado, like you can fish Colorado alone.
Yep.
Like it's not hard.
Nope.
And there's enough info, and all the fly shops out there will literally hand you
All season. Too,
everything
man.
what you need.
You can go all year round.
Yeah.
You know? Up here we have such a hiatus. It's so hard to fish here after December.
Well, and that was
Through
one of the reasons why like I never bought a boat until I built mine.
Yeah.
It was like I don't want to fish, like especially like going to the Keys back then too. Like it changed a lot since we had last gone down, because it had been 8 years since we had gone down,
Yeah.
and the fisheries changed a lot. It's not as good as it was. It got hammered during
It's
COVID.
busy, man.
It's super busy.
Do you think those Lake Okeechobee releases too are affecting fishing there?
Yeah,
And that happened like just before you went down, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Or
It was while we were
maybe
there.
While you were there.
It was
yeah.
while we were
Yeah.
there.
Did you notice anything, or was it too hard to?
It was hard to tell because
Yeah.
you also, I've never had the rain that we've had down there, and I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it. It's similar to like how our striper season was last year up here. You've got the salinity changing in all these tributaries where all these fish are hatching and being raised, and all of that.
Yeah, that salinity was an issue last year up here for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, down there, like, the releases aren't doing any favors, but also I think it's just pressure. I think the amount of people that have moved to the Keys and that are fishing, and that, guys that were on the fence and that said, fuck it, we're going to go down and
Well,
be
those
a guide.
releases have fish kills too, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
That's
they're
bad.
100% fish kills. Like,
It's bad stuff.
What is the reasoning for the releases? I haven't looked.
they're trying to keep Lake Okeechobee. It's flooding.
Yeah.
So Lake Okeechobee gets too full. They do their monitored releases, allegedly. But you look at like the satellite imaging from the release,
Yeah.
and it's like shit water just dumping.
Well, didn't it also used to filter down through the Everglades, and now they're just dumping
Correct.
it to the coast?
Gotcha.
They've rerouted
And there's
it.
a lot of pollution from all the houses and,
And
stuff.
it's
off
basically
Lake
all
Okeechobee.
from
Yeah.
it's basically all from the sugar industry, right? Like the
The
sugar
fruits.
industry started booming in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
No, like sugar cane, like
Oh, yeah.
growing sugar, right? So they're like dominating so much that they have to dump a lot of water, like a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
sugar's in everything today, right?
Yeah.
Like everything. Government subsidizes it, so it sucks for Florida. It's not great.
yeah.
you
Well,
know.
and the fruit industry and all their chemicals and
That too
everything
as well. Yeah.
that feeds into Okeechobee and then gets dumped out.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great. Not ideal.
So do you have family in North Carolina? That's why you went down?
My wife's cousin has a house
Gotcha.
on a lake this part of the lake had like a resort.
Yep.
It was really interesting though, because the resort wasn't really open yet,
Yeah.
but it was also 80 every day. So like they have an outdoor pool, they have a lazy river, they have a little water park,
Yeah.
mini golf, a beach, indoor pool, courts, and like hardly any of it was like the outdoor pool wasn't even open. And I was like, if it was 80 degrees in Maine, people will be in the water.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they don't care. They're gonna open their pool up. They don't care if it's May 3rd.
I like at the works where I go do my workouts and stuff in the pool. There, they have an indoor pool, but they've got 2 indoor pools and then an outdoor pool, and they're already talking about opening the outdoor pool at the end of this month because it's heated.
Yeah.
And they're like,
great.
people will use it,
Well, they had a heated pool too. I was like, why? So it was like a ghost town, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. It was like nobody kind of at the resort, and we were like within walking distance, all that stuff. So it was fun for the kids. We had my wife's brother came down with his kids, so
Yeah.
we got to show them, and it was just my kids haven't even stayed in a hotel since
Yeah.
they've been born. Like they were too young before COVID, and then
Yeah.
now, like since COVID, we just didn't really travel anywhere, and I
Yeah.
don't really like traveling south of COVID. Or no, I shouldn't say that. We rent houses when we go places. We
Right,
just don't
yeah.
stay in hotels. But We get to stay in a hotel on the way down, the way back, and they really like that. And it was cool
Well,
to
it's a
like
fun
have that experience with
experience,
them.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the road trip experience was cool.
Yeah.
North Carolina was kind of forgettable. You know what I mean? I wasn't like juiced about it, but
I love a road
nice to
trip,
take
but like when you have to get in the car and head home, it's like motherfucker.
yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not a fun part.
It does
No.
suck, and like that was the worst part of our drive. I mean, our drive was like, that's the nice thing about like stopping to see family.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, or like friend, like we stopped at Kate and Evans on the way north, so it was
Yeah.
like, all right, goal, get to their house as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, all right, we're locked in, like let's fucking
Cool.
ride.
You know, but like the fishing part of it though, it was so nice to be in places where it was like caddis coming off the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the water temps were only like 51, 52. It wasn't really that
Warmer
warm
than
yet.
what we were fishing in on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
Holy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was some cold ass
But,
fucking
but
water.
I'll tell you, the move in April, I know I've had so many questions from people in the last 2 weeks through Instagram, like
Yeah.
people messaging me, should I go here? Should I do this? Is the ice out? What's going on here? And I'm like, dude, just go south. Like in April, it's such a great move. Just to go down, like go to the Deerfield, go
Yeah.
to Connecticut, go to the Catskills, go to New York, go to Pennsylvania. Like you're not that far away from some like pretty decent early season fishing. And you get down there, the trees are budding, like it's just
Yeah.
feels nice.
I mean,
You know?
even Connecticut was nice. I think the whole fuck up was the Army Corps was releasing out of the bottom of the dam, and I mean that water was 43,
It was just cold, yeah.
just fucking frozen.
And
Yeah.
it was,
I mean,
supposed to, like, all the reports said they were going to be cutting the flows down to, like, it was supposed to be, like,
Did you guys see any suckers?
no.
No,
No.
It was supposed to be, like, 150 to 300 is
Yeah.
what the flows were. And it was supposed to be sunny with no wind. And we got down there, and it was windy and fucking cloudy most of the time.
and 38.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's too early even for them. Even down there.
We did see
But-
some bugs starting to come off towards the end of the day, but very, like,
Yeah,
very few to
We-
see fish rise.
There was this little creek that fed into the lake, and you could like, there was like a running trail, so I would like, I was walking every morning. I just basically went to the bridge to watch the fish, though. Like I told Katie, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for a run." No, there was no run. I was doing some push-ups maybe on the bridge, a little
Yeah.
something, but I was watching the fish action, and there were all these fish spawning, and I thought they were suckers, but then they had this really like forked tail, and I was like, "Those look like bass," but they didn't look like smallmouth or
Yeah.
largemouth. And some guy, older guy from the south, was walking over the bridge, and he's like, "See all them fish?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's hard not to, you know." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Those are white bass,
white bass.
white bass, son." And I was
White
like, "Oh,
bass.
you clearly are from the south,
Yeah.
white."
Well, it's like when I was in South
Never seen a
Carolina,
white bass before.
they have stripers, all freshwater,
Yeah, freshwater. Yeah,
like huge,
I know.
and they just sit at the dams.
Yeah,
We just chew them up when you start a unit. But I mean, whatever,
crazy,
it's fine.
man. Some of those rivers down south, they'll just have such big reservoirs that they're just massive rivers, right?
And
they're
actually-
dumping a lot of water.
Down there, like they actually care about the oxygen in the water for the fish. Like,
Yeah, they
that's
do.
a huge deal down there.
Yeah, man, like the South Holston, that thing fishes like all summer. And
Yeah.
it'll be like, it gets up to like maybe 60 max.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They're just smoking brown trout in like 100-degree weather. Because you always think to yourself, you're like, okay, we live in Maine. Maine is more north. The South gets hot.
Yeah.
How is trout fishing better in July in Tennessee than it is in
yeah.
Maine? Well, it's because of the bottom of these dams.
yeah.
Our dams are all top water. You know what I mean? And there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It backs up. But speaking of that, though, we have a great smallmouth fishery because of that. So
Yep.
We do. Androscoggin, legendary.
they all are. I mean, the Kennebeck's good.
Yeah.
The Penobscot's the really, really good one. But
Well, it's just I don't think the Penobscot sees the pressure that
They don't.
the other two do.
well, the Penobscot's so wide too, though. It like turns into like a lake
Yeah.
in a lot of parts. So like you need like a good motorboat to like cruise around the spots. You know.
I was talking with Ian. I was like, the spots around him, like down around Lisbon and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, we can launch my Lund and just go fish out of that.
Yep. You could.
I was like, we don't even need like.
Yep. That Lisbon stretch at the end there, it's all backed up like a lake. You know,
Yeah.
it's like a small lake there. So good pike in that. Good pike in that stretch too. Fun to do early season. I think that's the only thing in Maine early season that's like like catches my eye at all. Like, I'm not about trolling.
Yeah.
You know, in some of these ponds down here in southern Maine, they start getting pretty good right around now. Those are mostly, you know, holdover rainbows and whatever.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, Christine Morse's husband.
Yeah.
They were trolling Mousum, and he was catching salmon.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Out of Mousum.
Yeah. It was funny. When I was at I'll talk about this in a little bit. When I was up doing some work up at with Inland Fishery and Wildlife, I was talking to Jim Pellerin we were talking about brown trout a lot. And for those of you who don't know Jim Pellerin, he's the regional biologist for Sebago and all southern Maine, basically. Even as far up as like the Androscoggin up in Lake Gilead. So he was just talking about how the brown trout that they stock, though, they just don't do well in rivers, and they know it. But the thing is, they do really well in lakes and ponds. Like, there's some monster holdover brown trout, like 30 plus inches.
Mousum.
Yeah, like down there. Yeah, like down this way. There's a
massive
lot, man.
Fucking brown trout.
There's a lot. So it's hard for the state to be like, well, let's try something different when it's like, this is working really well. Unfortunately, it doesn't work well in the river. So, like, I kind of get it. Like, they're not going to sit here and raise, like, different strains for different bodies of water, you know? But it's too bad that they don't maybe put more brown trout in to spots where they can hold over. Because, like, dude, there's parts of the Androscoggin that, like, brown trout can hold over there. Like, it's deep.
Right.
You know, there's some big holes. Like, there's refuge for them. They can take warmer water, too. But I just don't think the focus is always there. It's also hard as heck to catch them, man.
Yeah.
And some of those rivers, like the bigger rivers, they're like unicorns. They're there. There's like 2-foot brown trout in the Androscoggin. There's a bunch of them. But they're really hard to get, and you're not going to get them on foot.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So.
Well, and so that kind of leads into like what we were talking about, like doing like the cut bows. Like there was discussion of that. Like
in Maine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I've heard somebody say it.
Like, because they're a harder fish. I mean, it kind of takes. They're a more resilient fish to like temperature.
Yeah.
So like, and I was talking with a friend that used to work for Katahdin. She worked for the park for Baxter.
Oh, for Baxter, yeah.
And she was like, you know, their biggest complaint is they keep the same strain. They've never rotated strains of trout in the state.
Baxter.
Yeah.
Is this stocked in Baxter?
Yeah.
Not a lot of it.
Not a lot of it.
Some of it
but
is.
like, but just in general, like their biologists up there want to see the state vary the strains of where they're getting trout from and what they're using.
Yeah.
And I think that's a valid, like, I don't know enough about the hatcheries and what they do, but I sort of feel like they probably do the same thing over
It's
and
crazy.
over.
Like, so I've poked around Baxter a few times in my fishing career here, and there's like ponds in there that, you know, you work hard to get in there, and there are fish rising everywhere.
Yeah.
But they are all 6 inches, and you can catch as many of them as you want to.
Yeah.
You can catch 200 fish in an evening, like every cast, but they're all going to be like 6 inches. So it kind of goes back to like the question of, great, they're wild fish, but like they're not growing because there's just too many of them. They don't get harvested out, right? So there's not enough food for them to actually like grow and get bigger.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to know like how old those fish live to as well, and their growth rate has got to be ridiculous. They probably grow like 1 inch like every 3 years. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
Yeah.
They're not getting. Like, we didn't catch anything over like 9 inches, and we caught probably 175 trout in an afternoon and evening. It was stupid. It was like you just put your fly in the water. You didn't have to cast it. It's like put it next to the boat. Like if you had a poor back cast, you're gonna catch one on it. You
Yeah.
know? It's like
Fucking
crazy.
send it with your front.
But dude,
forecast.
like Katahdin's right in your face. Like,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So
I love like the Millinocket. Like I'd love to explore more up there.
have you been in Baxter before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
Like
did you climb?
We just went up hiking. Yeah.
Okay. You climbed the mountain?
No, we didn't hike the whole mountain. We didn't.
No.
We didn't do the peak.
No.
The last time I was up there, I have done the peak. Like I was like 16,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it's
I've only done it once.
It's up. It's amazing up there. Like
It's cool, man.
Millinocket's a cool town. or knock it because there's no mill. But
Boom.
but we fished up there.
Drive by La Casa.
Yeah,
You know what La Casa is?
yeah.
You
Shut
know what La
down.
Casa
Shut
is?
down.
A strip club, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the strip club, motel,
Dude, it's a
prostitution
strip
ring.
club motel. Like every time you go to the West Branch, you drive by it and you're laughing because it's basically a building that was once a strip club, and then there's like a set of like 6 or 7 little motel rooms next to it, and you're like, dude, when this thing was in its heyday, people were
It's
just
a brothel.
Yeah,
walking hand in hand over to room number 4,
Yeah.
room number
Yeah.
5, and you're like, what is this?
Bringing home a Skinner pig.
Oh,
Yeah.
probably when the mill was hopping too.
Yeah, I'm
you
sure.
know? I'm sure the women of Millinocket really loved La Casa in its heyday.
Ooh.
when
Unreal.
my friend Morgan was up there, when she worked at the park, we went up and stayed with her, and I was like looking at houses in Millinocket.
Silly.
You could still at that time buy a place in Millinocket for like $36,000.
Yep.
Downtown, like.
Yep.
But I'm like, I don't know if I would want to be in Millinocket, and it's
Dude.
such a hike to get there.
Yeah.
Like,
But listen, with these remote jobs, this is the crazy part to me is like, why aren't people moving to Millinocket? Like, you could have you could have no mortgage. You could just put down $40,000 of a house. Granted, it's not going to be like something awesome, but add on to it.
but
like,
they're not bad. Like,
no, for 200,000, you're in good. You got a 3-bed house. You know,
200 grand in fucking Millinocket. you are the mayor. Like,
everybody cries about affordable housing, but it's like you don't have to live in Portland
Right.
anymore. Like you don't. If you want these remote jobs, like go live in Dover Foxcroft, go live in Millinocket. You know, who cares? You're maybe not the most beautiful place, but like if you and others come in with some money,
Yep.
like it's gonna just get better, and then you're on the doorstep of God's country.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's pretty sweet.
it's like all the fucking. I was reading about that fucking the burger place that's going in Kittery.
Ooh.
Someone was like, I miss fucking. It was some old fuck. It was like, I miss so and so. You know, are the burgers going to be as expensive as Five Guys? And it's like, shut the fuck up. Everything's expensive now. Just
Yeah.
fucking get over it.
Yeah,
Like, get over it, you old fuck.
housing market's crazy. There's a house on the street.
That's
sale,
my,
right?
my buddies.
Yeah.
Evans.
What are they asking?
$850.
That's $850.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looks like a nice place though.
It's a great house.
It's a super
I
nice
think
house.
they're high on it, but
How long has it been listed? Do you know?
2 weeks.
Any bites? Yep.
They had like 37 showings.
Holy cow!
No offers yet.
Wow. So it's
But
so
they-
it tells you a little
they-
high though.
Yeah, and they started their first listing was $899,
Okay.
and now they're down to $849.9.
Dude, it's like we are looking at houses right now, and I'm like, am I literally gonna spend $750,000 to live like in a basic neighborhood,
Yeah, you
like
are.
in a 4-bed, two bath house?
So the house that my parents,
Insane.
2 houses down from them across the street, just went up for $750.
Yeah.
It's
in a cul-de-sac neighborhood.
2,400 square feet. You
Yeah.
get 4 acres,
Dude,
which
you
isn't
used
bad.
to be on 10 years ago on the water.
Yeah,
$750,000, absolutely on the water, always on the water. It's crazy times, but
the fuck was
so
that?
do you guys actually have questions for me, or we just kind of?
I had a
Just rolling
question
here.
of how you prepare for an upcoming, as a guide, as a avid fisherman. How do you prepare for an upcoming season?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and I'm not like the typical guide where I'm like I do a lot of fishing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that guide just pretty much guide, like they don't fish a lot. So like I have to always weigh that balance between like what are my personal flies I'm
Yeah.
gonna use versus the ones with clients. But I do fish. I mean, I fish the same stuff that I have clients use.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of at a point now where I remember early on just thinking I needed all these different flies. And I'm at a point where I just have, I probably got 10 or 12 that are just like my go-tos.
Mm-hmm.
So I just tie the crap out of those in the winter, I tie it, just refresh the box back to, 12 to 20 of those
Yeah.
flies, depending on what they are. And I don't I don't even tie that many dries anymore. I mostly just tie nymphs.
Yeah.
Because it's just like they just get lost so much.
Yeah.
You don't lose dries that often, unless you're in the trees. But
That's
no,
gonna
so
suck.
yeah. So like getting ready now, it looks different than it did for me like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's also funny because I get like way more. I could get way more business now than I did like 5 years ago. And when I wanted to be busy, I wasn't that busy because I was new. I was new in the scene. But now it's like I could probably do like 60 trips, but I only have the capacity to do maybe 25 max this year.
Yeah.
Just playing dad. It's just way more important. And it's maybe it'll come back around, maybe it won't. I don't even know if I'm gonna stay guiding. I'm kind of like, I just love fishing.
Yeah.
So I don't mind being out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I love fishing through other people. It's fun to kind of like call your shots or kind of like, watch other people have success based on your advice. But at the end of the day, I want to like train my kids to be little fly fishing monsters too, and I can't do that and guide at the same time. So I gotta pick my spots, and I'm mostly just taking out repeat people now. I don't really have a lot of
New customers.
I don't take a lot of new people. If you're listening and looking to go out in the Rangeley area, I mean, I do have a few dates left, but it's mostly in the summer, and but I work with like 3 other people that they want like 60 to 100 trips, and they're great and do an awesome job. So I'm just just pushing to a lot of people these days and stuff. And I actually worked out a pretty cool little deal this year with you guys know Logan Messina?
Yeah.
He's trout about it.
Ooh.
So, as you guys know, Logan is he's a fly tyer in the winter. He works at the Rangeley Fly Shop like 2 days a week.
He ties a lot of flies.
He ties so many flies, and he doesn't have kids. He's not married, and
Smartest man in the room.
it's his job. It's his job to tie flies, and he's trying to make it. And I love knowing that he's grinding. When I talk to him, like he's grinding stuff out. He does guided trips over in the Rangeley area, but this past year he bought a drift boat off of another guy, Jeff Ireland, who guides up in the Kennebec area. And Logan lives in Solon, so he's gonna start offering some trips on the Kennebec, which he's pretty excited about.
I met a guy. He bought a rafting company in the Forks.
Oh yeah.
His name's Dan Hale.
Yep.
He's actually a doctor down here. And he came in the shop the other day, and he was looking for a guide to recommend because Kennebec River Angler is already so busy. So I gave him Logan's name.
Yeah.
Because he has people ask that come in and stay. So I was like, well, I don't really know this guy personally, but.
Oh, and I mean, Logan's. I mean, he's trying to make it off of all that, and he's good at what he does. I run into him on certain rivers a bunch in the season, and I'll watch him from time to time when he's just across the river, upriver, and like he's getting people in the good fish. I mean, he's doing a good job. He knows his stuff for a kid who didn't like grow up fishing here,
Yeah.
But he's spent a lot of time on the water. He also like sleeps in his truck, and I did that back in my early days. I was like sleeping in my wife's Nissan.
Yep.
And it was awful. But then I started bumming off people's couches, and I was like, all right, I gotta stop all this. That's why I just had to build the camp. I was like, how can I get a place up here? And but I watched Logan grinding. So like this season, him and I actually kind of have a cool little deal. He asked me if he could just pitch a tent at the camp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm not there. Like, you can just.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, sorry, you can't go in.
Yeah.
Like, just
you can sleep in the foyer.
Just go stay like at the camp when I'm not there. And he's like, well, how much do you want me to pay you and all that stuff? And I'm like, dude, you're like $20 to you is like that's a lot of flies to tie, or whatever. That's maybe like 10 nymphs that you sell to the fly shop, And that takes time. I know how much time it is. So I'll work out a system with him I hope we're gonna meet up and talk about it a little more. He's game for it, but I need my woods cleared out up there.
Yeah.
On my lot, there's just a lot of like down trees and like old logs and stuff like that, and I just want and like brush, and I just want him to like. I need to do it, but I need to like clear the woods out, put it all in a big pile, and have it hauled away.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna do some of that work when he has downtime.
Perfect.
For me, which is huge. Like
Yeah.
it's great. It's a barter. You know what I mean? It helps me. It helps him. And I honestly don't want to be like driving up to camp and like doing yard work for hours and hours and hours. You know, like I'm tired of working up there, building the whole place. You know, like I want to go up there and play.
Yeah.
So it works out really well. So I'm excited for that. And I like having people in at camp when I'm out there. You know, they're looking out for the place. And
Yep.
You can let me know if there's any issues or whatever. So it's pretty great.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So.
And
Yeah.
it's nice. How old is he? Mid-20s?
He's probably getting close to 30.
Is he?
Yeah, he's probably
It's
close
good to
30.
see somebody out there that, one, cares for the industry, cares for the fish, cares for, he's grinding, like you said.
Yeah,
So it's awesome to see that.
yeah, he's grinding. And, I don't think the guide demand in Maine is that high. I see a lot of new people getting into guiding.
Yeah.
Mostly younger guys, which is fine. I mean, I was a younger guy at one point,
Yep.
and like, dude, my first year I had 1 trip. My second year I had 3 trips. Like, I didn't know anybody. I had no way of marketing. Like, I don't even know how that one guy found me.
Yeah.
He was a doctor in Portland. Found me. But I watched some of these younger guys get into it and stuff with like these really high expectations, and people are always so secretive about how many trips they do and stuff like that, or they just inflate numbers, or they lie about it to try to make themselves sound like they're doing really well, or whatever. But I watch some of these guys get into it, and they're thinking, yeah, this is going to be full time for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to easily do 100 trips this year or whatever. And I mean, dude, 100 trips is $40,000. I mean, that's not great money.
Yeah.
And to get 100 trips though, you have to be like basically tied into a lodge.
Yeah.
Like you're not just going to get that. And it's been interesting to watch a lot of those guys with high expectations. Like they're now just like
They learn their
not
lesson.
guiding.
Yeah.
Or they're guiding like 10 trips and they're working a job.
Yeah.
shouldn't say
I
a
see
real
it with
job, like a
landscapers.
job. Yeah.
You see an up-and-coming landscaper, and they hit the market, they buy all the equipment, and they're gung-ho, and then they find out how fucking hard it is to make money in this industry, and it goes one or two ways. They last a couple of years, and then they end up selling what little accounts they have off
Yeah.
and working for somebody else, or they fucking grind it out.
Yep.
And it's very often that it doesn't go to the grind out
Nope.
part.
No.
It just falls off.
No, and like it's just like guiding. It's a demand thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? How much demand is there? And there's a lot of competition. There's a ton of competition. So like for me, I do it for supplemental income. I'm a teacher.
Yep.
But in the summer, I do it. But I also I enjoy it. And a really cool thing when I first started there was a guy who got to there named John Pollock. He owns McGalloway River Farm. And when I used to be fishing, I would see him guiding stuff like that. So I always any opportunity I could to chat him up, I'd pick it up and stuff. And he told me something when I said, "Hey, I got my guide license," and he was like, "That's great, man." He's like, "We need good people out here. We need people out here who are taking care of the resource."
Yeah.
He goes, "But I'm gonna tell you one thing." He's like, try hard to vet people before you take them out, and make sure that they're going to be like respectful of where they are, and that they're here for a good experience and not just here to like give me the biggest fish you can find. You
Right.
know? And that was really great advice, and I was kind of like, I didn't understand it, so I brushed it off,
Yeah.
But after being in it for like 3 or 4 years, there are people that call me and like, "Hey, are there 2-foot brook trout in Rangeley area?" And I'm like, "There can be." I mean, I've had a few clients get 23s. I had one get a 25. I've never caught one bigger than 22 personally, but I mean, they're there.
Mhm.
I've seen them. I've had people catch them. I've seen other people catch them. But I'm like, it's not like a layup. That's like a once in like.
Missed the
I mean,
net,
dude, I've been
missed
up
the
there
net
since
on
I've been
one.
up there since 07,
Yeah.
fishing hard too. Like
Yeah.
I was like 60, 80 days on the river before I was guiding. and like I didn't catch that fish. So these people call these expectations, and you're like, I don't really want to take you out because you're gonna just be disappointed.
Yeah.
If you catch, like, you're gonna be disappointed catching an 18-inch wild brook trout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's crazy, dog.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, but that goes back to the respecting where you are. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you really truly respect those rivers and what they are, and like being a heritage water for, you know, brook trout, like, you should really be more excited that you're catching unmolested trout
Yeah.
that are there, that have been there since fucking that river was
My
formed.
favorite thing is getting on the water with people who have never been in that area, and it's like 5:30 in the morning, smoke on the water.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is awesome. This
Yeah.
is so beautiful. This is just such great looking water. And in my head, or sometimes I even say it, but I'm like, it's gonna be a good day today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're appreciative already. You can see it,
Yeah.
you know, and those days end up working out awesome.
Yeah.
They're great. They're so great.
And I think time on the water is a huge thing for fishing. Like, for me, it's cliche to say it, obviously, but like, it's not always about the fishing.
No, it's not.
It's about the experience.
It's not, man.
And like, time on the water has become a huge thing for me because that's when you, like, the more time you put in, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to get out of it, and you know, which makes those big moments when you do catch a big fish that much better.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it catching, like when we went up last year and I caught that 13-inch native brook, I could have gone home right then and been fucking happy with that whole day. And so it's huge.
One of my favorite things guiding people and not fishing and being there is like I see so much on the water.
Yeah.
Because I'm not just staring at an indicator. I'm not just staring
Right.
at a fly the entire time.
Yeah.
And I see so many things. I'm at a point now where when I first started, it was like, all right, I got to be fishing all day long, 14 hours straight, whatever,
Yep.
and fish and catch as many fish as I can. And now I'm at a point, I'll like grab my sandwich, sit on a rock.
Yeah.
I'll just watch the river for like 40 minutes. Like, no joke, 40 plus minutes sometimes.
I do that
And
too.
I'm just like looking around. I'm looking for observation. And I still learn something every time I step onto those rivers. And, between a couple of those rivers, I'd say that I've easily been on them combined probably 1,000 times now, if not more.
Yeah.
When you're 60 days a year on a river, that adds up over 10 years, So to me, it's really cool. See, to go back to your original question, how do I gear up and stuff though? It's kind of funny. I probably like most people, I'm looking at my fly boxes and I'm like, yeah, I did not fill them as much as I need to, and here it is late April, and this happens every year. So I'll be tying a lot in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Just to kind of fill them all the way up. But
Do you buy any flies still?
I buy some dry flies.
Yeah.
Yep. There's some flies I just don't like tying them. And I don't like tying them because I struggle to get an exact proportion on every one. And like, dude, you know me. Like, I've tied thousands of flies at this point. And I'm like perfectionist about some things.
Yep.
And some things I'm not. That's why I don't sell them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't care. They catch fish. I'm not trying to catch fishermen, as
Yeah.
they say, right? Like, I don't need every fly to be like perfectly beautiful looking. And I also am at like this point now where it's kind of cool where I'll just make my own flies up
Yep.
and then see if they stick or not. Like, I learned that from a guy. There's a guy up there. I'll throw his name out on the podcast. He was a legend on Maine fly fish back in the day. Stephen Marsters. He went by Black Ghost.
Yeah.
He actually has a Black Ghost sign on his house, which is pretty funny. And he lives in Rangeley now, but he let me peek in his fly box several years ago. And dude, there is not one fly in there that you've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Like, it's all home cooking.
Yeah.
And one of his flies, he calls it Marsh's Mayhem. It's like a streamer hook that's got like a 6XL on it, so it's just like a long shank.
Yep.
And he ties like, I don't think he'll ever listen to this, so he's not gonna care. But he ties like 6 elk hair caddisses on the hook shank.
Oh,
So it's just like a series of elk hair caddisses, and then he puts this like giant, pretty giant for the size, like hackle feathers as the tail of it. Greases the crap out of that thing, and I think it's imitating like floating, smelt or whatever.
Yeah.
But hilarious that he's using that when everybody else is using foam.
Yeah.
For that
Right.
pattern, right? And he's using like just a series of elk hair caddis's.
But that variation probably makes a difference, in
It
why
does,
catches
man. It
more
does.
fish.
Yeah, and for those of you who are like, if you're getting into fishing, if you want to catch a lot of fish and get experience, like nymphing is the way to go. But I'm also like I watch so many people. They go to the same rivers, they go to the same spots, they fish the same thing, and they just do it all the time. And sometimes they're just creaming fish left and right.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great. I mean, dude, tight line nymphing is I love it, but it almost is like too easy. It just is. Like once you get a feel for it, it's just like you just catch so many fish on it that you're like, all right. And I watch people do it so much where I'm like, dude, change it up.
Yeah.
I watched a guy do it when we were on the salmon
Yeah.
on Sunday, and I just kind of sat there and I was watching him, and he did the same drift 150 times, just
Like he move, or is he doing the same thing?
same
No.
thing. Just
He moved?
stood in the same
moved,
spot.
He moved like 20 feet.
I can't do that.
And that was the thing, and that was one of the reasons why I was so anti-nymphing, is because of like my exposure to nymph fishing is like really fairly limited, because I normally try and stay away from people, and I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah,
what
but like
anyone
down
else is
here,
doing.
you can't move a lot. You have to stay in one
Right.
spot because there's just not that much fishable water.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying. It
And
was
that
like
drives me nuts, man.
we used to fish the Presumpscot because it's close and you can get there in 35 minutes if you fly.
It's a great place to practice. too.
Yeah, and I
It
mean
is.
the fly fishing only, but like I would go there and just see those guys that would go sit at the aquarium or sit up a little bit further up, and they're literally just same cast over and over and over
Yep.
for 35 fucking minutes, and then change a fly, and then do the same thing for 35 fucking minutes, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you can see fish rising around you, but you're still gonna sit there and fucking nymph.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And that's where I got to be a dry fly purist of, like, those type of fish. I probably will never bring a Euro rod out there.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, I know that river well enough where I know what I can catch there. There's sometimes where I gotta fish blind. Like,
Right.
that river, like, late May, black flies.
Yeah.
Unreal. Like
Yep.
a black humpy.
Yeah.
Impossible to see. You
Might be-
can.
Might be because of carpenter ants, man.
Yeah. It really is. It's ant. You
Yeah.
can do it ant
There's-
fishing.
There are so many carpenter ants in our water. People don't. You can't see them. Our
That's why
water is gigantic.
I tied up some
So hard to
foam,
see.
foam, just body with some rubber legs on them, and
Do it.
then a little white indicator off the
Yeah.
top so you could see it.
That's another trick too, though, dude. Use orange. Use pink.
Yeah,
White's great, but like there's a lot of foam on the water, so it's hard to locate. Right, same color. Just dab a little like orange, like a McFly in there or whatever. And that
Yeah.
to me is, I mean that's been killer, man. I tie some flies with basically just orange post on them,
yeah.
and you can be blind as a bat. And if you
Still
can't see
see it.
that thing, then you just have no business being on the river because it really is like that easy to find.
That was. I mean, we were fishing the salmon, and it was high. It was probably 2 feet high, but the flow wasn't that bad. The flow was pretty
flow
good.
was all right,
it was
yeah.
just a lot of fucking
Yeah.
water.
But you guys said the water was like low 40s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it
the
was-
temps.
yeah.
That's a big thing for like new people too, man. It's like take your water temps because it'll tell you like where the fish will be in the water column.
Right.
You know what I mean? What they're eating. Like if the water's 43, sorry, they're just not coming up. Like
Right.
they're not. They're
And
just not.
You're gonna
They're
have to
still
put it in
like
front of their
wicked
face.
lethargic. They're not going to move a lot for food. You got to bump them in the nose. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, you got to get down to them. It's probably higher water when it's cold, so you need some weight. Use
But-
your split shot. Use your beads.
Yeah. I fished the white leech.
Yeah.
And I was ripping that thing across everything.
Yep.
Just like literally same like you said, like basically trying to like hit a fish to make it wake up.
You
like,
dead drifting or stripping it?
both.
Dead drift the shit out of them this time of year, dude.
Well, that's what most of
dead
it.
drift everything.
Yeah.
Do you fish them on a bobber?
What's that?
Do you fish those on a bobber?
Yeah, so like so I wanted to talk a little bit about like our upcoming New York trip or whatever, but before I do, I was just gonna say like new people. If you catch a fish in a spot, don't just keep going back to that spot. Like that's one big error that I see a lot of people make. It's like, oh, I caught a 16-inch brook trout last time I was here. Okay, well that was also like in mid-June, and now you're here in like April 22nd. You know?
Yeah.
Then move a lot. Like people don't move enough. They just sit in one spot because they're like nostalgic and they're like, oh, I caught a fish here before, or oh, so I watched the guy just catch a fish here. You know? Dude, move around. It is wild how many fish are not in those like popular spots, and that's when your catch rate will absolutely go up when you start moving. Even on these rivers down here, where it's like stockies and everybody fishes right by a bridge, right?
Right.
Because they dump them and the fish don't move a lot. They actually do move quite a bit. You can go up and down these and find them.
Especially after they've been caught once.
Yep.
Like once they're caught, if people are catching and releasing, you know, those fish are not where they were.
It's so hard down here too, though, dude, because the rivers get low so quick.
Yeah. And
then there's also just some wicked stagnant water, and you're like, sometimes just trout holding there. Believe it or not.
One fishery that Huey and I need to really, really explore is in New Hampshire, actually. The Kachiko is supposed to be phenomenal.
Lights out.
Do those fish well in like spring and fall?
Yeah.
I know guys that fish them all winter.
Fishery.
Yeah, it's a great winter fishery.
Winter about the three river stocking there,
but also their spring is not right now. Right now it is about
high.
40 fucking feet tall.
Yeah.
Like I went by there the other day and it's unreal. But like that's one that's like, all right, that's like literally backyard. Like should probably figure that one out.
Yeah. Absolutely. So back to nymphing. So for years I ran, 9-10 foot tapered leader, and I would run it to like a lead fly that sometimes I have weight, sometimes I wouldn't, like a Pat's rubber leg, even an unbeaded one, and then I would tie 18, 24 inches off the bend of that hook to something smaller. And if I wasn't getting down, I'd use split shot. I'd use that egg shot. Usually the BB size was like my favorite. And I'd put that 8-10 inches above that Pat's rubber leg. So that would be like the first kind of one on the bottom, which makes sense. You get a stone fly on the bottom. And then your other one would be a little higher in the water column. Dude, I ran that rig forever with indicators. And, you're mostly fishing like 4 feet deep a lot of the time. 3 to 5 feet, I'd say. So, you put your indicator pretty high up. And now, like, after doing these New York trips, so for those who don't know, Garrett and I are going down to New York next week. I've been doing this trip for like 4 years. We've been on the Catskills, and one of the guys is an ex-client of mine, and he went out with me here for like 3 years, and he's like, he lives in Saratoga. He's like, dude, you got to come down here. So we've been renting a house for the last 3 years. Our other buddy Sean Monahan, who's pretty big on Instagram. He's a wild dude.
That's the juggling dude, right?
That's the juggling dude, man. Yeah, Sean's crazy. He's a ridiculous like tight line, whatever you want to call it, Euro guy, and he's a plumber, and he has these like local brown trout streams around him. He lives in Connecticut, just over the border from New York.
Yeah,
and he has these local brown trout streams that just have hogs in them, but they're like in a city almost. Yeah, so they're like in like urban areas, and he just has been practicing his craft there for so long. But he's also like, what I'm getting to is he's almost like a spin dude in terms of his like setup.
Yeah.
So I remember years ago, and I'm never afraid to be like candid and be like, I did this and it was so dumb. I remember years ago I tried to tightline and I built like a 24-foot leader.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't tapered. And I'm trying to cast it. And it would go like 6 feet and everything would crumple up. And I'm like, man, how the hell are these people casting these things? You know what I mean? And I just couldn't figure it out, And I bought like a Euro leader, and it's 24 feet long or whatever. Yeah, it would get all tangled up. It had a bunch of memory, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I can't figure this out. So then I started doing these New York trips. These dudes, they build their own leaders. They use like this stuff I have right here in my hand. It's called Amnesia. It's a memory-free monofilament. It's like 16-pound test, basically. And they just run that attached to their fly line for like 25, 30 feet. And then from there, they just put like a tippet ring on, and they'll put like 3-4 feet of cider material after that. Sometimes they don't put it at all though. And dude, from the cider material, you're just running like 5 feet of 5X.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned from Sean that's been a huge game changer is using tippet rings to attach your tippet to, instead of like retying knots all the time. So you got your 24 feet of this stuff, right? You got a tippet ring. From there, you run 5-6 feet of 5X tippet. And the reason you use 5X is because you want something with thin diameter that's going to get down.
Yeah.
You know? And I've always fished 3 and 4X because those rivers that I fish are like, dude, if a fish gets near a rock and you got 5X on, like, you're screwed. They're gonna like carve it off. Like, I have, like, a lot of times I've seen leaders and tippet break in the middle of the line, not at a knot. I'm like, how is this happening? It's like they're carving it off on a rock or something like that. So the 5X though is incredibly strong now. Like, 5X is seriously strong, but you need it to get those flies down. If you're running like 3X and you're in quicker water, that fly is not going to get down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's too much water pushing it.
So you got that 5 feet of 5X, right? And then at the bottom of that, I run another tippet ring. And from that tippet ring, I'll run 18, 24 inches down to my heaviest fly. And then I'll also put a 2 to 3 inch tag, like a tiny tag off of that, to my like smaller fly. And that's it.
Yeah.
So it's really a weight game. It's about having the flies you want, but in like different sizes. Like, it's going to be somewhat heavy water down there, so we're going to run a lot of 4.5 millimeter beads. Like, those are heavy, dude.
Yeah.
You drop that thing in the water, it's going straight down. Like, it's not like the brass beads that are going to float for a little while. The other thing is I learned how to cast that rig from him, right? And one thing that he's a wicked, like, innovative dude and does some like crazy stuff. So like, here's an example, right? So he's got that Amnesia, 24 feet of it, has a tippet ring, right? That has 5 or 6 feet down to his other 2 flies. But at that tippet ring, he'll put a tag on that, because that's kind of at the top of the water, and he'll put like a dry fly there. So he'll run like a dry fly from one tippet ring. 5-6 feet down, he'll have on his other tag fly, and then at the very bottom, that he'll have his lead fly. So he's like hitting like 3 places in the water column at once. And just like super, it's just funny, man. It's innovative. But this stuff is basically for spin fishermen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just regular monofilament.
Right. Yeah.
It's not tapered. It's all the same. So I'm like, this is cool, but like, I don't want to just like tight line nymph everywhere I go, because you can only do it, you know, within 10 feet of you or so. What if I want to like hit a pocket that's 20 feet across or 30 feet across? So the next year I went down, he's like, dude, I've been trying this lately. He runs his indicator on it.
Yeah.
So he uses an indicator on Euroline, and dude, you can sling the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can cast this rig with an indicator on it like 40 to 50 feet. And not because I'm like a good caster.
Yeah.
At all. It's just because it's like the weight of it coming off the water plus the weight of those flies, like, it rips, and this stuff comes off your reel so quickly. Fly line's dense, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like spaghetti, right? This stuff is wicked thin, and it just loads like crazy. The other thing is, though, I learned how to cast too, though, when you have this rig on. And you should do this for any nymphing at all. So let's say the river's going this way. Your line goes down, gets to the end. Your indicator's at the bottom, right? So you just want to pick up enough to get your indicator off the water. And you want to basically cast like straight across your face. You don't want this arcing motion. Like, I don't want those flies going really above my head.
Yeah.
I just want to like sling them back out to where I want. The other thing that people do, though, a lot of the time is they cast it and they land it straight across from them, or just a little bit upstream. Dude, I'm like upstream. Like, I'm almost like directly above me where I'm landing those flies, because I'm giving them time to get down at that point into where I want them. The other crazy thing that you'll see in New York that I don't find in Maine, which is nuts, the brown trout, these rivers that we fish down there, which I will not name publicly, and if Garrett does, I'm never going to talk to him again.
I would never.
But these rivers have so many pockets on them. I mean, we'll fish a 5-mile stretch. We'll only walk a mile of it because it's not because it's strenuous or anything. It's just because you're fishing every little pocket along the way.
Yeah.
And there are like hundreds of these pockets.
Yeah.
And I would say 80% of the time there's a brown trout in them. And what we do though is we stand at the bottom of the pocket and cast up. Whereas in Maine, I've found that a lot of the so what I'm saying is a lot of the brown trout hold at the very bottom of the pocket.
Yeah.
At the end of the run, basically. Or
Right.
the end of the pocket.
Where brook trout.
Brook trout are more like at the head or the middle.
Yeah.
And the little guys are at the end. And the reason is people get all like horned up about brown trout. Dude, brook trout are way more like carnivorous than brown trout. Everybody thinks, oh, brown trout is big predatory fish. Dude, brookies are. They just are.
Well, and brookies they're almost more like they're like a fucking Rottweiler. Like, they don't like each other.
Nope, they don't.
They fucking hate each other.
Nope.
Like,
And-
that's why, like, when people are like, oh, well, like, you know, all those fish are stacked in, like, these holes
They're
together.
aggressive, man. They
And I was
eat.
like-
That's why you'll catch way more
Yeah.
on dries than you will brown trout.
I was
Brown
like-
trout are really hard to catch on dry flies.
Well, it's like, look at
They
Mickey Finn. Like, why does that fly work?
Exactly.
Because it looks like a trout swimming by and they want to kill it.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, I mean, brook trout are great fish to, like, practice catching fishing on and, like, getting dry, fishing with dry flies. They'll come up a lot more. Brown trout's where you really want to solidify your game. And I'm excited we're going down. This is a week later than I usually go. And it's been warm. And it's going to hit, like, 80 for a couple days.
yeah.
So I think there's going to be some, like, caddis coming off and maybe some Hendricksons,
It'll be sweet.
which would be dope.
Tarps off.
Yeah.
Just
So I'm going to run.
wader burns.
I'm bringing a 10-foot rod, probably a 5-weight. I might bring a 4. I'm just running one rod. I'm going to have my regular reel if we get some dry flies. I'm probably going to run that tight line rig the whole way. I refuse to use the word Euro. So we'll probably run that mostly, but
yeah.
it's wild to be an hour and a half away from New York City.
Yeah.
And we don't see anybody for 2 days besides just our group. And these are rivers that also have, you're allowed to spin fish them, not with live bait, but or worms or anything, but it's artificial only. We won't see anybody for like 2 days. It's like end of April, right? I'll come back to Maine. I'll drive up to Rangeley. There's like 50 people at one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this makes no sense. I was just an hour and a half away from New York City and didn't see any people.
Well, I was looking when
It's because they were all in Rangeley.
when we were talking last week about, you know,
But the
going
fishing's
down.
way worse this time of year.
I was, you know, and I started looking at like where that is on a map, and it's like, you can tell it's like, it's oddly close, but also like weirdly remote too.
Super rural.
Yeah, it's like
Like where we're staying in the town,
yeah,
there's a gas station and there's a Italian restaurant. And there is no other services
yeah,
for like 20 minutes
yeah,
until you get to like a bigger town, basically. But it's cool, man. And you'll like where we're staying, this house we're staying in, it's like I think it's like $250 a night or something like that. It's like a 4-bedroom. It's crazy.
yeah.
The housing market down there is way cheaper than Maine. I'm kind of like,
Wow.
why are people not? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but how many listeners do you guys get?
Not many.
50 ish.
All right. Well, it could afford 50 people to be there, but it's just like, it's like, why are people not coming here from New York City? Because you can literally buy, even today, you can buy a 4-bedroom for like $400,000.
Right.
Like, which is really reasonable for New York people.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of people like
They go to the Adirondacks, man.
Yeah,
They love going to the Adirondacks. Fishing sucks up
or
there
Saratoga,
compared to
or
Catskills.
like, you know, they'll
Yep.
go to the Finger Lakes
Yep.
to go do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a like. It's, I mean, it's sort of that way around here though, too. Like to a point. Like, think about all the land between like Portland and Rangeley.
Yeah.
You can buy some fucking cheap houses in Carthage,
Yep.
Yeah.
You can.
but I mean, do you want to live in Carthage?
What
Or
is there to do? That's
Right.
the other thing. Like, people go to the Adirondacks because you can ski, you can boat, you
Right.
can snowmobile. Dude, the Catskills, you are fishing or you are hiking.
right?
Or you're sitting around your house, because those are literally the only 3 things you do. Probably some hunting, but I don't even know. I don't think so. It doesn't look like great hunting. It's
I don't
very
know.
thick.
New York is not great for.
No, it's not there. No, but It's cool, man. You'll see and you'll be like we're not gonna have cell phone service when we're
Yeah.
out. Like it's pretty
perfect.
rural. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's beautiful too, and you're like, I've always had a down, outlook on New York
Yeah.
because of New York City.
Right.
But when you get out there, you're like, man, New York is so big, and this is really cool. Like,
Well, I mean,
I'm
even
into it.
I worked out in New York for a while, and like out towards like past Albany, past Syracuse, like, but
Are you,
like
like,
Finger
Western?
Lakes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's
I've been
it's
out there.
beautiful.
It is.
I mean, you get to Rochester and Buffalo, and it's shitholes again. But
I've been to Lake Canandaigua.
oh,
Lake Canandaigua. That's in the Finger Lakes.
I forget what fucking city was I in? It's one of the state prisons. It was sick.
The prison.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The prison looked awesome. It was really creepy every morning and every evening. There's massive crow populations up there, and they think it has something to do with that part of New York and the Finger Lakes has a higher magnetism in the ground, and the
Interesting.
crows are attracted to it. And I mean, you're talking like old,
Plus, crows like old buildings.
dude,
Prisons,
old school
castles.
prison, like 25-foot
Nice.
concrete, like but beautiful concrete, not like industrialized. It was like ornate, like when people gave a fuck what they built.
Yeah.
But like you're just sitting in
built
there.
100 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Oh fuck, what was the name?
You were
of
up near where they like east the chopper place.
Yes. Well, that was a different time. I almost died there.
Hey, do you have the reel for me? That you're gonna use?
My Euro reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Where-
right there.
Is it rigged up right now?
Yep.
You want to unrig it so I can give you this?
Sure.
Or you know what? I'll just give you this, and you just put this on your loop.
Okay.
So take the leader off that's on there. Do you have a welded loop on there? On the fly line? Does it have the loop at the end?
I don't know if it's welded loop or if it's ring.
Nail knot?
No. Hold on. This-
No, listen. A welded loop is a perfection loop like this,
Yeah.
but it's just It's like they like. All right, you said a ring. I don't know what a ring means.
I don't know if there's a pivot ring involved in this.
You know how they make the ones that you can like.
I've always known there to be either a nail knot. You put your leader on the nail knot, or you put on the perfection loop.
My first rod just had you had to use a nail knot, but I ended up putting you can buy those pre-made loops that you put on, and then you put shrink tube over them,
Yeah.
warm them up.
Those are fun.
Yeah,
I don't like those pre-welded loops, man. They like fray over time. Then I have to like retie one on the
Yeah.
line. It makes me mad. Then it's clunky.
This is the stock.
Sorry to put you through all this. You don't have to put it on right now. I'm just gonna peel off 25 feet of this right now, basically.
you have any goals for this upcoming fishing season?
Striper goals.
Striper goals.
Oh, I'm loving the salt now, man.
Hell yeah.
It's cool. I suck at it. A lot of gooses,
That's what all these boxes are.
but
Fucking ready.
I'm
yeah, my goals are there.
I'm actually the president of the Goose Club as far as striper fly
Yeah?
fishing goes. So
But you're the king of the pollock club.
yes,
Yeah.
yep, I am on top of that.
Never seen a bigger pollock caught.
I told James Brown that. I said, if you're looking to fill in some guided pollock fly fishing trips,
I'm your guy.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, stripers are. They got me so curious, and I'm actually spending a day on the water with Ben Wally.
Yep.
I hired him out for a day. It's the other thing too is I talked to a lot of guides, and like they never hire guides. Dude, anytime I go anywhere, really, I usually hire a guide. I love learning from them.
Yeah.
Like I've put so many tools in my toolbox from learning from other guides.
Absolutely.
It's
And like I'm not gonna ever guide the salt, so I'm not gonna guide. I'm not like, hey, show me how you do it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not guiding the salt. I don't feel comfortable in the ocean. Like I don't know it well.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up around it. So for me, I'm not like, this is cool. I want to see this like flats fishing that we have. It sounds awesome, and it looks really cool. And I like what Ben's doing, and I just want to support him. And
Yeah.
this is just like
it's pretty awesome.
cider line welded right to the end of this.
Where's your fly line?
This?
Where's the actual line?
Like actual fly line, like
Yeah.
a regular, like my 5-weight.
Where's like the line on it?
This is all the Euro line, like a floating
Oh,
line.
you have like a Euro line.
This is Euro line.
Okay, what's at the end of the Euro line? Because we can use that. It's fine. You're never gonna see that Euro line. You'll just have this. Like this. This will be anything you'll see.
The very end is
Unless if a fish really brings you back.
Well,
but-
after the cider, there's a tippet ring.
Okay, we can just tie to that then. Do you have some nippers so I can stop using my teeth?
I sure do.
Oh, look at that.
That's for the
Pick your
boat.
poison.
That's for the boat this year.
All right, so you just have a tippet ring at the end of that line.
Or, so here's the other option: is I put that on my 5-weight, my 10-foot.
Do you want to know how to rig up a real Euro line? You buy the cheapest line you can find because you're never gonna see it. You're just not. You can have like $20 stuff, man. Doesn't matter.
Well, that's what this whole setup is.
It's great. It's awesome.
Dude, this Gray's 11-foot 3-weight.
I've been sitting over here gnawing on this thing for half an hour, and I didn't know you had a tipper ring on. Could
Could have just tied right on.
have just tied right on. Yeah. Bring those nippers again. Yeah. So goals.
We gotta
I'd
do.
like to get a few stripers over 30 inches. Like that's like a pretty serious goal of mine. And one of my still lifelong goals is I still want to catch myself. Like, forget my clients. I want to catch a 2-foot brook trout still.
My goal is
I want to.
any size striper on a fly rod
Fair enough.
and a 16-inch brookie, and then I could die a happy man.
That's good, man. You keep working on it.
Which I think those are
I
pretty
get you those
attainable
trout.
for the most part. So
Here's a good challenge.
What about with the kayak?
Will Garrett get you
I've
in a
caught fish in
striper
the kayak.
on a fly first, or will I get you in a 16-inch brookie on a fly first? I don't know. I can't take you too many places though.
That's
You're
true.
a little limited.
Yeah, I'm crippled.
But where I can take you, you could probably catch a 16-inch trout, just not. It probably won't be a brook trout. It'll probably be rainbow or brown.
I should
Like the
just say
Andro.
16-inch trout.
The Andro.
But
So,
I am going to fish the fuck out of that bridge this year.
you should be the guy. You're gonna, everyone
Be
will
the
know
bridge
you.
guy.
Everyone will know you.
What's that?
Be the bridge guy.
Dude, somebody. So Ben Wally was showing me. He went up there for the eclipse,
Yeah.
and he sat like right by the bridge, and there was like 100, 200 people there, and some people were fishing during the eclipse. Probably just like, oh, I was fishing during the eclipse,
Yeah.
whatever. He has this picture. There was a bunch of hippies there. There was a woman, like right on the grass right there by the bridge, just pulled her dress up, just squatting down, taking a pee.
Nice.
And like 10 feet away from this dude who's fishing, the dude turns around and he's like, he got that look at like, oh, because he could see everything,
Yeah.
you know? And Ben got a picture of this kid looking like it was like perfect timing. And I'm like, what is wrong with people, dude? What are you doing? There's 200 people around here.
Yep.
I think some people just got super high during that thing,
Oh,
and they just didn't know
absolutely.
what planet they were on, you know? Clearly, but yeah, it's pretty wild.
I don't care which one comes first as far as fish. I mean, I've caught, out of the kayak, I've caught some nice bass out of the kayak.
Dude, you fish
Large
that spot enough, you're definitely going to get some 16-inch brook trout. For sure. And bigger. Because they're there. That's such a great, like, it's a good spot. It's a good run.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of the, actually, I'd say 2 out of the 3 biggest fish I've ever seen on the river have been right at that spot. So, I mean, I've seen like a 25-inch brook trout at that spot before.
We're going up Memorial Day
insane.
weekend.
I think I might have the biggest chub in that spot.
That thing was a
They
tank.
get huge up there, man. Actually, you go above the lake.
Yeah.
Chubs up there. They're actually fun to catch.
Oh, really?
Because they freaking, dude, they peel you. Like, they will peel you. Like, they will run on you.
No shit.
Yeah.
They're big. They're like 20-inch ones. And they're actually really fun to catch, but not always the target species, so to say, but let's see what happens here. Who's not as weaker? Dude, you're not like...
Huh?
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Did you
You're
just separate
not.
it?
You're not all like... Separated. Yeah. What type of knot was it?
There it goes. I don't know.
Was it improved clinch?
Might have been.
No, this one's not tight. I'm a big improved clinch guy. I once lost a huge fish on just a regular clinch knot, so I've sworn against. I'm like, just take the extra loop.
Yeah.
Just go through the extra hole.
I've done it now every time. And, like, same thing with, like, what do you do for a surgeon's? I'll go triple every time.
Triple.
Like, it's one more pass through.
Yeah.
You know
You'll
the
be
strongest line-to-line knot is a perfection loop to a perfection loop.
Yeah.
It's like 98% breaking strength or whatever. Blood knot's like 56%, and
Nail
surgeons is like 58% or something.
Nail knots are fucking...
Nail knot's pretty deadly
Pretty
too.
deadly.
I bet. Yeah, yeah. But that loop to loop connection it's the one, but it's just not. To me, it's not. It's not a thin profile. It's
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
thick.
to get two perfection loops to be together
Yeah.
and...
But honestly, my like bass fish and stuff, I'll usually run I'll just do a perfection loop.
Yeah.
For that, because you don't really need to be so like.
I've been seeing a lot of
Stuffy.
guys changing to perfection loops for
It's basically
saltwater.
It's basically a swivel.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you just let the fly, like, be loose on,
Smart.
be able to move way more.
Yeah.
You get a ton more movement and action out of it. And I was like, damn, that's a fucking... It was actually something I saw down in Florida. One of the guys...
That's pretty cool.
I learned that from the blue line guys for like smallmouth fishing.
Yeah.
They run perfection loops on all their flies, and for added movement.
Yeah.
My thing is with stripers is I only have like 5 or 6 feet of line on there. I don't have to. I'm never like adding tippet. I just like
Yeah.
No. Well,
Straight
like,
mono.
just straight
Yeah,
on.
a lot of guys you'll see, like, yeah, you can go buy a fucking... I mean, I have them. I've got striper leaders, but that's mainly just because I'm lazy some days. But then if you really look at it and you're like, okay, what do we really care about here? Well,
Yeah.
I can run 15-pound, like, mono
Yeah.
mono.
and be fine. Like, what do I have here?
Dude, it is smoking hot in here. I'm sweating.
It's warm.
Must
We
be this
keep
knot.
it warm.
I gotta take another shower after I leave here. I don't know
What?
what I do with that. Oh, there it is.
Aaron's going to be the one breathing heavy on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the nickname for your podcast, the Breathing Heavy Podcast.
He's been better today because I have the headphones on, so
You can hear.
yeah.
I'm also like trying not to breathe at all. Because
That's nice of you. It's like when you're dating a new girl and you're trying not to fart.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's so nice of you. I told my wife back when we were dating, or like when we got married, I was like, "Oh my god, I used to have so much stomach pain around you because I used to just hold them in." 'Cause I
That's
didn't
one
want
thing
to.
I never held in.
And
Yeah.
now, obviously, you don't when you're married. But
Yeah, no.
no,
And then
it's
it's-
all everything flies.
And yeah.
Once
Uh,
you've gone through childbirth,
it's both ways. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Worst part is now I can smell. So I smell my own brand
But
and everybody else's.
You were able to smell the fucking wood-fired pizza
Oh.
from Brick and Basil.
That was the best like thing that's happened to me since getting my sense of smell back. After having the sinus surgery, walking into that parking lot, like getting out of the truck and be like, "Oh my god!"
Smells
then-
so good.
Then getting in the truck after like you had opened up the boxes,
Yeah.
and it was like, smells like a fucking pizza place in here. This is the best.
Yeah. That shit is so good.
And we didn't eat all day, and I fucking regretted eating that pizza when I got home. I was so fucking just bleh.
I thought we were gonna get through one episode, boys, without talking about food, but
Sorry.
couldn't get there.
We stopped at the best pizza place in Connecticut. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care what Dave Portnoy rates it. That fucking pizza. And it's like you said, though, like, we didn't eat all day. I grabbed
It's my favorite part about fishing.
two
Natural fasting.
two power bars just because I had to take blood pressure medication or blood thinners at some point. I'm supposed to have food with them, so
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll get this out of the way early.
I got home and I like emptied my backpack and realized I had Girl Scout cookies in there. which is kind of neat. And then, like, I brought 2 bags of Girl Scout cookies for us. There's like 2 or 3 of them each in there, and completely forgot about them.
What's a bag? We're talking sleeves, right?
No, my wife takes
you
them
put
out of
in
the sleeves
bags.
and puts them in individual bags. Because otherwise I'd just eat them.
I gotta use a sleeve for reference, you know?
Yeah.
Cool tippet ring tip. When you're gonna tie it on, leave the tippet ring on the swivel here.
Yep.
Make sure it's the first one in line, of course. But tie it on here, and then you don't need to be messing with like this. I mean, this thing's
Tiny little
dude.
tippet
It's
ring.
tiny. Yeah, I wish I knew that a long time ago. When I learned, I was like, oh, that's easier.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yep. A lot of guys like the uni knot for this too.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to tie the uni knot because I've never practiced it, and I don't really care. But
You know
it's lesser profile.
You know what they do is there's an
Quit.
app for that.
There is. Yep. I'm done practice. I have my knots. I stick to them. I'm a big blood knot guy, and a lot of people don't always agree on that, but I don't care. It works for me.
I've practiced this winter. I've practiced like tying droppers on, like, and tying tippet to my leader.
Nice.
That's like,
Well, that was after you got yelled at last year.
yeah, when I was spoken to on the banks of the Magalloway.
Yeah, you have to.
You gotta learn your knots.
You gotta learn your knots. And dude, listen. When I first started, I was using 2 different colored pieces of rope at my parents' kitchen table. Like, if you're sitting there thinking like, oh, this is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I think everybody who's been in it for a long time, they put their dues in and did crazy stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
You name it, dude. I've done it bad. Like, I was self-taught at first.
Yeah.
I was horrible when I first started. I didn't know how to cast. I didn't know any of the bugs were. I didn't know what my flies were in my box. I'm like, what is this fly? What's this one? What's this one?
So
do?
you're right there with George.
There we go. But I mean, like, you know, you
I told Garrett when we were in Connecticut, I was like, I'm going to be some fucking mad when I watch your dad send one of those flies I tied for him into the fucking woods.
dude, try tying those double stones that Greg ties.
Yeah.
They take like 25 minutes.
Oh.
And he sells them for like $8 a piece.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Probably more to. It's probably at 10 now. But try putting that on with a client, trying to teach them how to nymph and using that fly, and they like get hung up because they're not even aware of where their stuff is. Like on the first cast, and you're like, oh my god, that's gonna be 25 minutes. So, I only tie guide flies now.
Yeah.
For that type of stuff. I use those ones personally. They're pretty great. He's got some cool little tips that he doesn't use in his. He has great videos.
Greg?
Yeah, like his fly tying videos are really good, man.
I've learned a lot from his
you
stuff.
You could follow his channel. I hate that I'm promoting him because he's a dink to me when he's on podcasts. But you could watch his fly tying channel though, and have more than enough flies to be deadly for every species in Maine.
Absolutely.
And then some, you know.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, just like technique wise and stuff from him, and yeah, and I've also I've learned a lot from Fly Fish Food. Those guys.
Oh yeah,
they put out a lot of great content.
Yeah,
as
they
far
do.
Yep.
As far as like tying and stuff goes, and it's made a huge difference.
So
YouTube is amazing for that shit.
Yeah.
It is amazing. I agree.
It's like
I agree. Yeah, it's.
I couldn't imagine learning how to tie in a world where there wasn't before.
Yeah, yeah. I actually started tying before YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was hard because you use books.
Yeah.
And I was really bored by them, and I'm like, this is stupid. It's like steps, and like I just need to watch it and be able to rewind, watch it, rewind, you know. And but you know, with fly tying, if you've never taken a class before, like take a class. Like it's good to learn those basics, because those basics are what you need for every single fly that you tie, no matter how like long you've been doing it. You need
there's
those
so
basics.
many. Yeah, there's like every time I tie, I'm doing something that I learned the first time I tie.
Dude,
it's just a repetition.
I had like this guy. I can't remember his last name. It was John something, and I learned later on that he was like the president of Maine TU for like 15 years, like this guide for like 45 years, and he's who I took my first fly tying class from. And it was a Portland adult education course, and it was me and a lady.
Excuse me. Let's take my medicine time.
8 o'clock. Must be 8 o'clock.
Yep.
The lady in the class, she came to the wrong class, and she's like, she kind of like did it for a little while. So I think his last name was Hall. But I had this guy for 3 weeks all to myself. It's amazing. I learned so much stuff from him. My flies are crap, but I kept some of them, which is kind of cool to look back on too.
I look back on, I still have some of the first ones I've tied, and like compared to now, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But it's all repetition and practice, and
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
And listen, no matter how bad you think you're doing at something, you're gonna get better, and you're gonna look back on it and be like, man, I was really bad at that. But the more you do something, those little quirks will get worked out over time, and that goes for fishing as well, like so much so. I mean, I look back on how bad I was, and I remember like the first time I hired a guide, he was showing me after the day was over. It was like dark out, and we were at this camp with some cabins, and he was showing me by like propane light how to like tie a blood knot. Like that's where I like watched someone tie blood knot first time. When I left there, I didn't know how to tie it. I didn't know how to tie it for like another year.
Yep.
Till I practiced with rope, But like, I remember those moments. Kind of cool to like think back on those little things. But I'm gonna leave this for you.
Okay.
So, do you have 5X fluoro?
Yeah, it's right there.
All right. So just run like 6 feet to this.
Yeah.
To another tippet ring.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's where you can still use 5X fluoro, which I do, to tie to like your heavier fly.
Yeah.
And then your little tag fly.
You leave it. So like, that's what I was doing with actually that rig I just cut off. Like, I actually think I went like 18 inches.
Yep.
And then did triple surgeon.
Yeah, so you had a tag.
Leave a tag.
Yeah.
And then down to like another.
See, and I did that when I started nymphing a lot.
Yeah.
And especially in this way, I did that for like 2 years. But then Sean was like, dude, use a tippet ring, because if you want to change that tag.
Yeah.
And you have a double surgeon's knot, you have to cut everything off and retie it.
Yeah, or
right?
you end up like, I would start with like a 5-inch, 5-inch tag,
really long one, right?
Yeah, and then
see with this, I can go really short because I don't care, because I can just cut it back off, and tie a new one on. So this tippet ring is perfect for that. It's really awesome. So I'm gonna leave you just this whole thing.
Okay.
You might want to curl this up, or you can just reel it back up on there. I hate tying these leaders for people and they're not attached to the line, because I'm like wrapping around my hand. Yeah. It's like a circle, and then it gets all fun. Yeah, dude, you'll never see that Euro line again. Unless if a fish really peels you. Or you foul hook one. You foul hook a fish. If a fish runs like 100 yards like a trout, it's most likely you're foul hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time. Because you don't have any control over them.
Same thing with like a striper. Like, if you foul hook a striper, or like get it just like, if you get it wrapped because you weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Like,
kids learning how to bait fish with stripers, and they run, and then.
Yep. It's so easy to foul hook fish when you're nymphing too, but.
Yeah.
I think we got a good season coming up, boys.
Looking forward to it.
I hope
a lot of good things.
I hope the rain stops.
Going.
Can we not have the same fucking rain? Because
but like, also we need rain.
Well, we do
need like moderation.
Yeah, but it can fucking stop now. We've got enough for the fucking month of May.
Isn't it wild how many people? And it took me a while to actually think of this too. So I'm not going to sit here and say people are dumb, because I was also dumb. But a lot of people are like, oh, we didn't have a lot of snow this winter, or like the fishing's going to stink this year, or whatever. It's like, it took me too long to figure out that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because everything runs off in May. We're not like relying on like snowpack in July.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need rain in moderation. We don't need too much of it, but we also need too little of it. And we need it badly in July and August, Last year was too much. June was like the wettest month I've ever experienced in my life, But it's funny to watch people be like, we're going to go into drought.
Yeah.
We don't have any snow, and it's just like, that doesn't matter anyway.
No, we had rain all fucking winter. We're fine.
We're gonna be, our water tables are just fine this year.
Do you know what an inch of rain is for snow? It's like fucking
10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
So I don't want to curse it and say I don't want any rain, but I also don't want too much rain. Just moderation. Give me one good rainstorm a week.
I'm good with
1 week.
Down here going droutish in July.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter as much down here.
Yeah.
And it hurts the striper fishing. It's too wet.
Yeah, it kills it.
Right. And you're not fishing for trout and stuff down here.
Yeah.
Bass don't care. So
Well, and like really the striper fishing that I want to get better at needs zero rain.
Right.
Like we need salinity.
you need salinity for sure.
So
You need salinity bad. Yep. That's funny. I was talking to Ben about salinity the other day. He was saying that was the biggest issue last year for sure.
it crushed it. Like
Yeah.
and it showed like even in like the charter boats, like where those guys were going, like even with bait, like
Yeah.
they're not fishing where they normally fished. Like I talked to a lot of buddies of mine that, you know, there were guys, Wells was running to York almost every day.
So crazy. That's so far.
Which is, yeah.
I heard you talk about something earlier episode. Ben was he was leery to take me out because I'm a guy.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. Like, he was telling me a couple stories. I ran him to the grocery store the other day, and he was telling me a couple stories about how he's just gotten burned.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how, like he had this kid that he hired him out for 5 trips, and Ben figured out after the second time the kid was just trying to learn it all, and then he came back, he still had 3 trips lined up with him, and then he came out and he was late in his spot with a inflatable boat too, which is not great for that type of fishing, and it was just blowing up the spot or whatever. And
Yeah,
it's just
and you wonder
that's
how
not
fucking
cool.
people get in fights on the water.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not cool, man.
No.
You know, and I also look at that stuff as a freshwater guy, and the places I go are not secret, and they're not I don't care. If I see 30 people on the river in a day, it doesn't matter to me. I don't get huffy because I just keep moving.
Yep.
And I just fish water other people don't. You know.
well, and that's similar to what I think a lot of guides in general in all of their stuff do.
Yeah.
You're always going to keep a few spots, not necessarily to yourself, but you have to know that person to take them there.
You do.
And I think that's a lesson you've learned, obviously, where it's hey, I'm not going to take this person. I'm not going to take a first-time customer
Yeah.
to these spots and show them everything.
Yeah.
Not saying you're leaving out the experience, but it's you also don't deserve that experience.
Your best clients are from North Carolina.
Yeah,
They're not going to be there every week.
exactly.
I had a guy hire me early on, and he was a teacher like me, and we chatted before and stuff, and he could only afford the half-day trip.
Yeah.
He was a good fly fisherman. He just didn't really know where to go, and he's from upstate New York, so I was all right, whatever. But he comes back out. I see him actually. He was every Memorial Day weekend, and
Yeah.
he to this day maybe had the best morning of fishing I've ever had with a client. I mean, in 4 hours, he probably put 50 fish in the net.
No shit.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
He also gave me a $20 tip,
Okay.
which I was like, okay, dude,
mean-
that's 50 cents per fish.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Hey.
It was nuts, man. The fishing was just lights out that day too, and sometimes it just happens. But we're gonna get after it this year. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna be in the raft a lot. I'm gonna be on the Andrew a lot. If anyone's listening that cares and wants to reach out, we're doing some studies on the Andrew this year, and we just need people to fish and log what they're fishing. I have a bunch of these log books. There's the Inland Fish and Wildlife last week. Actually, they set up 6 of those volunteer box stations.
No shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
It's 3 in Gilead, 1 in West Bethel, and 2 in Bethel, or 2 in West Bethel, 1 in Bethel, and we have guys that are replenishing them every week with pencils and cards, and they're collecting the cards for the end of the season. And we're gonna do this for 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna do it for 3
Big
years.
news. That's awesome.
And then we're just gonna fish a ton. So I'm actually trying to drop some guided trips and just go fish.
Yeah.
And bring people, just row people down the Andro. I'm also half forcing some people that go out with me every year to be like, hey, guess what? We're not going to range this year. We're going to Bethel.
Yeah.
Too bad. And they're like, okay, whatever. And
Yeah.
it'll be cool because they'll be part of the data collection.
Yeah.
What we're really the goal up there that we're trying to do is, the state. It's really weird working with the state because I've always been so they suck at this, they're not good at this, and you guys are obviously always poo-pooing the state, which they do a lot of things not well. But we're kind of trying to work with the state to prove the state wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, and that there's a lot of wild brook trout and rainbow trout in those tribs and parts of the river, and I think a realistic goal is to see if we can find enough wild trout to be like, all right, we can probably stop stocking brook trout.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like a if that happens, like that's a sweet win. If they stop stocking the really inferior rainbow trout that they stock, that would be awesome. I'm worried we're not going to find enough wild rainbow trout though to be able to like, there's not enough here to fish, you know, or whatever. But it's kind of cool. The third thing I'd like from it is, it's funny because I'm like, I don't want stocking. But then the third thing is like, I want stocking of brown trout.
Yeah.
You know, I want it to be like a great brown trout fishery.
Well, I think it makes sense, right? Like, if we could put fish that actually stand a fucking chance, it makes sense. Like, that's my biggest thing with the stocking, where it's like, I understand like the urban stocking, where it's like, hey, we're making it accessible for kids and their, you know, parents or grandparents to come out, catch some fish, get interested in it. But it's like, okay, but you have these bigger tributaries where like you can put a lot of good work into making a sustainable fishery.
And it's so different because like up there, it's the Androscoggin River. Like everybody, like the states always said, well, you know, we stock fish, put and take. Like we want people to take them out and harvest them because they're not going to live, you know. Well, you're not taking fish out of the Androscoggin River. You can eat one per year without growing a third eye.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not advised. So I'm kind of like that was my big question for them is like, why are you stocking fish there then? Like if people can't take them out, what's the point? Well, it's not like down here. Like it's different, right? Like you have stocked rivers down here where those fish are not going to like make it through the summer. They're just not. Like the water's going to be 80 degrees by late June. And up there, it's just more open. There's a lot more fishing opportunities, so they're stocking fish there for game purposes. Like, and it is like it's like a decent little game fishery, but it just could be better.
You're right.
And it's not getting better; it's getting worse. Like everybody sees it. Like no one's guiding really over there anymore. People are just kind of like, I'm gonna go do something different now. And it's like, okay, this isn't working. So what does a change need to be?
Right.
Well, the state can't just be like, we're going to stop stocking. They can't. Like, they need data to support it, and that's what we're trying to do. We need 3 years to do it. So, if people are listening that like fishing up there, like, go fish it, fill out those cards, and help us get data. And you know, one big thing too is like try to get good at identifying wild versus stock trout, and be able to put that on cards because that's the data we need, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I caught 6 wild trout today and 1 stock trout. That's awesome. And even put your location, like in those logbooks, I'm putting like exact location of where these fish are caught. And I don't care about that data being out there. It's not like, oh, it's my secret. I don't care, man. I want it to get better.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're walking into the Andro,
yes.
Guess what? Everyone else can walk into that fucking Andro from where you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not a big secret.
I just think it would be so cool to have like a really sustainable brown trout, rainbow trout-ish fishery in Maine. Like they have, like, dude, like the Deerfield River, it's sick.
Yeah.
And I know it's different. I know it's like a good bottom release, colder water, right? But at the end of the day, I think if you'll see when we go to New York. In New York, dude, what they did back in the 80s, they stocked the crap out of the rivers with a good strain of brown trout that could last in the rivers.
Yeah.
And by the late 80s, they stopped stocking because they didn't have to, because those fish were actually reproducing and they were sustaining.
I mean, that's what they're doing on the Farmington. Like they
don't need to stock as much.
They do stock some,
yeah,
but it's also the Upcountry Fly Shop stocks privately, and because they're putting good fish in, and they're seeing tons of holdovers, they're seeing monster fish. Dude, this year for one of their derbies, just to be fun, they actually ended up stocking Goldens.
Right.
Like just for fun.
It's cool.
And I was like, that would actually be like a fun, like they had like a tournament.
As long as it's
weekend.
not interrupting something wild, you know. What I mean? That's great.
But I mean, everything down in Connecticut, you know, what really is left of wild? I don't. You could. Well,
make an argument going back to my point earlier about the brown trout is like when you'll see when we go to New York, there's these wild brown trout everywhere. It's like, okay, why don't we go get that strain?
Yeah.
Because that's a river. Those are rivers, similar rivers. Why don't we bring those up here?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is that they already have brown trout here, and they're doing really well, just not in that body of water. They're doing well in lakes and ponds.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to be like, you know, all right, well, let's do this one for rivers and this one for lakes and ponds. Like, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like, I like.
It's
like,
hard.
I think they've thought of these things, and I've always dumped on IF&W. I've been blown away with their support of this, and like almost their like like, yeah, we know it's not good. Like, they're admitting it.
And I think,
you know?
but, we've talked about it too, where it's like the biologists say one thing and policymakers say another. And
They do.
When you're having policies made by people that are fucking uninformed, I think the biologists are really catching up to it and going, well, they're not just listening to our words anymore. So maybe if we just throw numbers in their face and say, look, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Stop. That maybe someone, because when
But it comes out, it's like anything else in this world. It's just coming down to money.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to, like, I get it now. Like, they're not going to start stocking a river strain of brown trout and have a lake and pond strain. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much money, too much, like, hassle, and they just, like, not enough people care either.
No, but I mean, if you're sitting there and you're stocking the andro with fish to put and take, and then you turn around and say you can only take one fish,
Right.
well, cut the fucking number of fish you're putting in down, save your money there, and put them into better fish.
Yeah, I'd like them to. I think if they just, the rainbow trout don't really thrive anywhere in Maine. I don't feel like the ones they stock, because the strain that they have is this Eagle Lake strain from like 2001 is when they first started doing it. It's a bad strain for Maine, dude. They don't last.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really reproducing and stuff. And that Kennebec stretch that has really good rainbow trout that has holdovers and they reproduce there and stuff, they're not that strain. They're a different strain. And they're just from a long time ago. They've just like been there for like 50 years.
Yeah.
Dude, the feds like stocked rainbow trout in like the 1930s in Maine. Isn't that wild?
It's crazy.
But like, those fish still exist today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like a pretty decent strain. But I don't know if we have access to that anymore. Like, it's so old.
No, but I think there's strains of, and that's the thing is, like, are we just literally hitting the fucking repeat button every year at the hatchery?
Yeah.
Or do we say, hey, let's, I understand like the data and stuff, but even not just the data, but like go grab native fish from somewhere else and start fresh. Like,
it's funny because I've been like questioning a lot, and I've been in a great position now to like sit down one-on-one with like Jim, and like talk to him and bring all these questions up. And like, the more I ask questions, the more I realize like they are actually and have thought of these things that we always talk about. Where I'm always like so skeptical, like they don't even care to try it. Like, no, they have tried. Like, they've tried 3 strains of brown trout. You know, this one is the most successful in any body of water, so they're just sticking with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sadly, it doesn't work well in the rivers. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that goes back to money. It's like, we can't just start stocking 2 different strains, and it's a hard one. What I will say though, that I've learned a lot from the biologists, because a lot of the biologists, I think, get this like reputation of just being like, they're just like stocking biologists, right? Like, they just go and stock fish and monitor the fisheries or whatever. Well, a lot of those biologists are actually doing a lot of work, more than you and I know. And shame on the state for not making it more public what they're doing. Yeah, right.
That's the thing.
They're out there like checking wild fisheries and like trying to protect as much as possible, and like they don't do habitat restoration, so they are trying to work. Like, it's kind of funny, since I've been dealing with TU, is like Pellerin's come to us about a couple of things. Say, hey, listen, there's this pond up in such and such, and he's like, it could be really good. We just need to like make this habitat change, but the state's not going to fund it. Like, we need you guys to fund it. Yeah. And it's kind of cool that they're coming to us with that, you know what I mean? Because it's sad that none of our money goes to habitat. You know what I mean? Like, none of our money goes to habitat.
Yeah. And that's the 100% the problem, right? Because like, if you
double my fee.
Exactly.
$50. I don't care. If we're going to have better fisheries and you're able to do that stuff, like, then just, I'll pay $50 a year. It's not going to bother me. You know what I mean? Yep. I'm not like, oh my god. I mean, $24 can't even get you a Big Mac anymore.
It was what we talked about last episode. Like, literally, give me a success story from IF&W. Like,
except for turkeys.
Yeah. And there's not much.
But they know what it could be successful, but they either one don't have access to like the land, right? Like, they can't just like be like, okay, we're gonna come here and like redivert this river and do this. They have great ideas. It just requires a ton of money, and the state does not focus any money on the habitat restoration. Like it was kind of cool sitting down with Pellerin for these meetings because he fished the Andro back in the day when it was really good and the river was really nasty, and he loves that river. He hasn't fished it in like 15 years because he's like, it's not the same anymore. I just don't get excited about it. But for us to kind of come in and try to like revitalize this, you can see like a little twinkle in his eye.
Yeah,
like he's into it.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna give him a lot of credit because we just brought them like, hey, listen, we want to change this. This is what we think should happen. Blah 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 blah. He's like, great, let's have a meeting, and they put together like 20-page slideshow. And it was really thoughtfully done. It was really well done. And it was like, here's where we think you guys could come in. Here's where we think we need to do this first. And towards the end of it, though, it was cool. He had like this like wish list items where he was like, all right, if money wasn't an object, like he played that game, which was cool. And he was like, if money's not an object, he's like, that river is just scarred the entire way. There's no trees on the side. There's no shade. There's no holding water. Like that whole river is just like, it's like gravel bottom. Like, there's no big boulders. There's no like structure for fish to hang. He's like, Army Corps of Engineers comes in and you bring in giant boulders in the areas where you know it's some cold water refuge, and so you're just providing more cover for them in their cold water refuge area. But I mean, we're talking about boulders half the size of their house. You know what I mean? Like the state doesn't just have like money to be like, all right, we're gonna go do this. But the fact that they're thinking about it.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean,
like, that's a great idea.
Well, and that's the thing is like he is at least knowledgeable of like how to make fish better, right?
So
like,
knowledgeable.
And I think the thing that we struggle with getting around is like those people are in that body of government.
Yeah.
With the head of a fucking complete jackass.
They are, but also like those ideas they have or those thoughts that they have.
Yeah.
Like, make it more publicly known.
Exactly.
Because then it lets me know that, like, okay, you're actually on top of this. Like, you really care about this. You really want this to happen.
Or
you just don't have the resources.
Or highlight the fact that they want to go work with Trout Unlimited. They want to go work with Ducks Unlimited. They want to work with the National Wildlife Turkey Foundation. Like, they want to do that.
They do.
So, make that public. Like, hey, look at this sick thing that we are doing with, like, you know, with Trout Unlimited on the Andro.
Yeah.
Like, that should be a massive thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Has anything gone out about it?
No, it's going to be secretive until... And they also need... Like, they need us to actually do the work, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, well, like, we have it in motion. We're ready to roll. We're just waiting for the river to calm down. But we're going to be monitoring the boxes. We're going to float with the biologists 4 times this year. We're going to do some electroshocking with them in the tributaries. Like, we're going to be doing these things.
Yeah.
Like you said, though, I think it would be cool if they, like, highlighted them a little bit more. You know, and let people know.
Right. And I think that's been their worst thing they've ever...
Transparency. Where are my tax dollars going?
We're almost there on what they're actually focused on, but I'll stop there.
All right, I gotta pee.
You look like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm laying down like this because if I sit up straight, I'm afraid I'm gonna put a kink in the hose and it's gonna explode.
Sounds good. You look like you're in pain.
It hurts so bad right now. I have to pee so bad.
Man.
You could just get up and walk out of here.
Well, I didn't want to be rude.
You're okay.
Yeah.
We'll allow it.
Yeah.
I'll allow it this once.
But Aaron did say you wanted to be done at 8.
Yeah,
here we are at 8:30.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
It's a school night for the teacher. He's going to be watching videos tomorrow.
State testing tomorrow.
Oh, 6.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I just scrolling in that.
Kick back. I'm going to get 1,700 reels from Aaron tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I should do, what I used to do, is to bring my fly tying stuff in.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm actually going to go home and get my vise ready.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, folks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Aaron. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Peace.